Rock bottom is not your address. Welcome to Soft Girl Era, the sacred space where strong Black women unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom they deserve without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, and I'm your guide from burnout to boundaries, from doing to being, from strong to soft, and loving every second of it. I recently had the privilege of sitting down with Ihisha Anderson, a woman whose work is reshaping how we understand healing, resilience, and purpose for Black women navigating some of the hardest chapters life can write. Ihisha Anderson is not just surviving her story. Yeah, she's rewriting the narrative for thousands of women who thought rock bottom was a permanent address. Through her advocacy, her voice, and her unapologetic commitment to helping Black women heal from domestic violence, homelessness, addiction, and family trauma, she's making the world softer, safer, and more honest. She is living proof that the very things that nearly destroyed you can become the foundation of your calling. And today I want to share what she taught me, what the research confirms, and what you need to hear if you've ever felt like the weight of the world was crushing you into the ground. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Rock bottom doesn't care about your degree. It doesn't care how many people depend on you. It doesn't care that you've been strong your whole life. Rock bottom will meet you in a parking lot at 2 in the morning with your kids asleep in the back seat because you had to leave. It'll meet you in a courtroom where they're deciding if you get to keep your children. It'll meet you on your knees in a bathroom praying to a God you're not sure is listening anymore. It'll meet you in the mirror when you can't recognize the woman staring back at you. And here's what Ihisha Anderson wants you to know. Rock bottom is not your address. It's a place you've been. It is not who you are. It is not the final chapter of your story. It is not the sum total of your worth. It is not the last word on your life. Let me tell you about Kimba Smith. Kimba was a college student, middle class background, bright future ahead of her. She had dreams, she had plans, she had a family that loved her. Then she met a man, charismatic, controlling, dangerous. And slowly, like so many Black women before her and after her, she became entangled in his world. Not because she was weak, not because she was stupid, not because she didn't know better, but because abuse doesn't announce itself with a warning label. It shows up charming, it shows up romantic, it isolates you from your family. It makes you believe that leaving is more dangerous than staying. It convinces you that you're the problem, that you're overreacting, that no one will believe you, that no one will help you. Kimba ended up charged in a federal drug conspiracy. She wasn't a dealer, she wasn't running anything, she wasn't making money, but she was connected to him, and in the eyes of the law, that was enough. She got 24 and a half years, no prior record, pregnant, terrified, and incarcerated. 24 and a half years for loving the wrong man, 24 and a half years for being afraid to leave, 24 and a half years for surviving. That's rock bottom. But here's where the story shifts. While Kimba was inside, she didn't give up. She prayed, she reflected, she educated herself, she wrote letters. Her family organized, her community rallied. They told her story to media, to churches, to organizations, to policymakers. They refused to let her disappear. They refused to let her become another statistic. They refused to accept that this was the end of her story. And eventually, President Bill Clinton granted her clemency. Kimba walked out of that prison, finished her degree, wrote a memoir called Poster Child, and became a nationally recognized advocate for criminal justice reform and survivors of domestic violence. Today, Kimba Smith travels the country telling her story, not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, not because she gets paid enough to relive her trauma over and over again, but because her survival is not just for her. It's a roadmap for someone still sitting in that cell, literal or metaphorical, wondering if they'll ever see daylight again. It's proof that you can fall all the way down and still get back up. It's evidence that your worst chapter does not have to be your final chapter. That's what Ihisha Anderson is talking about when she says rock bottom does not define you. Getting back up does. Now let's talk about what getting back up actually looks like. Because it's not a movie montage, it's not a motivational quote on Instagram, it's not a 30-day challenge. It's messy, it's slow, it's painful, it's expensive, it's exhausting, and it requires something most of us were never taught to prioritize. Healing. Black women are conditioned to carry everything: the family, the job, the church, the secrets, the trauma, the bills, the grief, the disappointment, the anger, the fear. We're taught that rest is laziness, that therapy is for white people, that boundaries are selfish, that if we just pray hard enough and work hard enough and smile hard enough, everything will be fine. We're taught to be strong. We're taught to be resilient. We're taught to keep it together. We're taught to never let them see us sweat. We're taught to protect everyone else's feelings while our own are suffocating us. But here's what the data shows: Black women experience domestic violence at disproportionately high rates. When we try to leave, we're more likely to end up homeless. We're more likely to lose our jobs, our housing, our children. We face what researchers call hidden homelessness: sleeping in cars, couch surfing with kids, staying in dangerous situations because the alternative feels impossible. We're more likely to be judged, criminalized, and abandoned by the very systems that are supposed to protect us. And when we do seek help, the systems that are supposed to support us often fail us. Shelters that aren't culturally responsive, therapists who don't understand our reality, policies that criminalize survival, caseworkers who see us as problems instead of people. It's exhausting, it's dehumanizing, it's traumatizing all over again. But here's what's also true: when Black women are given trauma informed care, when we're offered safe housing, therapy that honors our faith and our culture, peer support that doesn't judge us, when we're treated like human beings instead of case files, we don't just survive, we thrive, we heal, we rebuild, we lead, we transform. The National Resource Center on Domestic Violence found that survivors who accessed safe housing and trauma informed services showed significant increases in safety, mental health, and stability for their children. Their kids went back to school consistently. Their PTSD symptoms decreased. Their contact with abusive partners dropped. They began to sleep through the night again. They began to dream again. They began to believe in themselves again. And many of those women, once they got on their feet, turned around and became peer advocates, caseworkers, and community leaders. They turned their pain into purpose. They turned their survival into service. That's the second thing Ihisha Anderson wants you to remember. Healing is not selfish. It's not weak. It's not optional. Healing is sacred work. It's how we actually break generational cycles, not just survive them. It's how we stop passing down trauma like heirlooms. It's how we give our children a different blueprint. It's how we become the ancestors our descendants will thank. Let me be clear. Healing doesn't mean you're suddenly fixed. It doesn't mean the trauma disappears. It doesn't mean you never have bad days. It doesn't mean you never cry. It doesn't mean you never get triggered. It means you stop letting the trauma run your life. It means you set a boundary with your mama, even though she's going to be mad. It means you go to therapy, even though your church says prayer should be enough. It means you choose sobriety even when your family says you're being dramatic. It means you rest without apologizing for it. It means you say no without explaining yourself. It means you choose yourself even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels selfish, even when it feels scary. Healing is the most radical, professional, spiritual decision you can make, and it's the only way forward. Now, let's talk about what happens when you do the work, when you pray, when you heal, when you set the boundaries, when you choose yourself, what happens next? Purpose. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration studied Black women dealing with addiction while parenting. These women were navigating trauma, poverty, single motherhood, and the very real fear of losing their children if they admitted they needed help. The systems judged them. The courts criminalized them. Their families told them to be strong and keep it together. Their churches told them to pray harder. Their communities whispered about them. Their children looked at them with confusion and fear. But when these women were offered culturally responsive treatment, trauma informed care that recognized their histories of violence and racism, family focused support that didn't rip their kids away, in spaces where they could integrate their faith and spirituality into recovery, something powerful happened. They got better. They stayed in treatment. They rebuilt relationships with their children. They found stable housing and employment. They began to trust themselves again. They began to laugh again. They began to hope again. And then many of them became sponsors, peer support workers, community educators. They turned their pain into purpose. They turned their shame into strength. They turned their story into a lifeline for someone else. They proved that the very things you thought would destroy you can become the foundation of your calling. Your survival is not just for you. When you've been through domestic violence, homelessness, addiction, family conflict, when you've hit rock bottom and clawed your way back up, you carry something sacred. You carry proof that it's possible. You carry a roadmap. You carry hope. You carry wisdom. You carry resilience. You carry grace. And when you turn around and help the woman who's still in it, still sleeping in her car, still hiding bruises, still using to numb the pain, still wondering if she's ever going to be okay, you're not just helping her. You're completing your own healing. You're stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. You're fulfilling your purpose. This is your soft girl era. Not because everything is perfect, not because the trauma is gone, not because you've arrived, but because you've decided that softness, that rest, that healing, that boundaries, that joy are your birthright, and you're done apologizing for claiming them. You're done shrinking. You're done performing. You're done pretending. You're done carrying what was never yours to carry in the first place. So here's what I need you to do. Not next month, not when you feel ready, not when things calm down, right now. Before this week is over, I want you to take one bold, concrete step toward your own healing and freedom. Maybe that's calling a domestic violence hotline. Maybe it's scheduling a therapy session. Maybe it's setting one clear boundary with someone who's been draining you. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you trust and saying, I'm not okay and I need support. Maybe it's admitting to yourself for the first time that you deserve better. Maybe it's forgiving yourself for staying as long as you did. Maybe it's choosing rest instead of hustle. Maybe it's saying no without guilt. Do one thing that future you will thank you for. One thing that moves you even 1 inch away from rock bottom and 1 inch closer to healing and purpose. One thing that proves to yourself that you are worth fighting for. One thing that reminds you that your story is not over. One thing that declares to the universe that you are ready to be soft, to be free, to be whole. Because here's the truth: you are not defined by where you've been, you are defined by what you do next. And what you do next can change everything, not just for you, for your children, for your community, for the woman who's watching you, wondering if she can make it too, for the generation coming behind you, for the ancestors who prayed you into existence. Rock bottom is not your address. It's a place you visited and you don't have to go back. Ihisha Anderson is living proof. Kimba Smith is living proof. The thousands of Black women who've walked through fire and come out at the other side holding a torch for someone else, they are living proof. And so are you. The cape is off. The healing has begun, and your story, the one you thought would break you, is about to save someone else. Let's get soft. Let's get free. Let's get whole.